Hello there. So if you're watching this video, then you're like me when I was a younger player and you've had a lot of issues with squeaking. So when I was younger, I would squeak a lot and I didn't know what was causing them. It wasn't until I started practicing clarinet more seriously, like in college and whatnot, that I started to fix it. It would get better on its own, and I don't think, as far as I can remember, anyone's ever really addressed what causes them. So if you watched the intro video, part 0, then you would have heard what I said about squeaks, and I said that it's caused by your fingers. So let me explain. So if you're squeaking on the clarinet, there's almost 100% chance it's because of your fingers. It feels a lot like it's your embouchure. It'll feel like your mouth is doing something funny, or maybe your reed is something funny, or your ligature or something that you set up is funny. You feel a lot of the pressure here in the mouthpiece in your mouth as you're blowing. But unless you're playing something like open G, where you're not pressing any fingers, or maybe like A or something, it's gonna be your fingers. The only other way it would not be your fingers is maybe something in your equipment, like your pads, like maybe there's a pad that's fallen off or is peeling or something like that. But assuming that your equipment is all fine and there's nothing wrong with it, it's definitely your fingers, right? So what's happening is on the clarinet, unlike say flute or saxophone, we have a lot of these finger holes, right? These tone holes that are just holes, and we don't have a lot of these pads, right? We do have pads, but for the most part, when you're pressing a finger, you're pressing a hole. And so what you need to do is you need to fully cover these holes as you're playing clarinet. And the more fingers you're pressing, the more chance that one of these holes is not covered very well. If you're only pressing a couple of fingers, then you can actually get away with, if your fingers are just slightly off from the hole. If it's a little bit off, then the chances are it'll be fine. It won't probably squeak on you. But let's say you're pressing a lot of fingers, right? Let's say you're pressing all 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 in your thumb, and let's add like a pinky somewhere, these two pinkies, and one of these fingers are off. You get these really ugly squeaks. All I was doing was just lifting this finger, one finger only, and just slightly coming off the hole. So you can see that as I adjust different fingers, you get these really awful squeaks, and it's probably something like what you're hearing as you're playing. So the more fingers you're pressing, the more chance that something is not lined up. One pro tip I'll point out with that is that if you're pressing a pinky note, if you've gotten to the point where you're learning these pinky notes, like let's say low F or low E, or even the higher notes like high B, and you're noticing these squeaks, it's a very good chance that it has to do with your ring fingers, because if you move your pinky, your ring finger is going to move with it. It's very difficult to just move only your pinky and keep your ring finger perfectly still. So chances are if you're pressing any of these pinky notes, that ring finger, whichever hand you're moving, that ring finger is sliding and moving all over the place. So I always tell my students that when you play pinky notes, don't think about your pinkies, instead think about your ring fingers, right? Lock in those ring fingers and you'll have a much better time with those squeaks. I promise you that if you focus on your fingers and covering the holes really well, you'll notice the squeaks improving, getting less and less squeaks, right? It's very tricky because your brain will tell you that it's something to do with your reed, something to do with your mouthpiece, something to do with your mouth, the way you're set up. But if you've been playing clarinet and you can play open G, and you can play it very consistently, then it's not your embouchure, right? If you're at a point where you haven't gotten there yet and you can't set up your embouchure correctly, it could be your embouchure, but very high likelihood if you're pressing fingers, if you're playing notes, different notes, it's gonna be the fingers. And you just have to ignore that part of your brain that's telling you it's your mouth, or it's your air, or it's your embouchure, or it's your reed. One thing, as I do my video talking about equipment more later on down the line, I will address this, but there is a myth about reeds, and people talk about how If you have a chipped reed, or if your reed is like not the right brand or this or that, like it's no good, that's what's causing squeaks or whatever, I promise you it's not. You can play on a chipped reed. You shouldn't, but you can, and it's not going to squeak on you. It's just not going to play very well. It's going to have a worse sound than a good reed. But that's not what's causing the squeaks. It's your fingers. So really focus on lining up these fingers, particularly your ring fingers, and you will definitely have improvement as far as squeaks are concerned. As usual, if you have any comments or questions, feel free to post them in the comment section, and I will address them either in the comments, or I'll make a whole video about it. Thank you.